have a decisive cost advantage and you're Google and you have search and all these other businesses, why not run AI at a negative 30% margin? It is by far the rational decision. You take the economic oxygen out of the environment. You eventually make it hard for your competitors who need funding, unlike you, to raise the capital they need. And then on the other side of that, maybe you have an extremely dominant share position. Well, all that calculus changes once Google is no longer the low-cost producer, which I think will be the case. And I do think it's very interesting. Like during the strategic and economic calculations between the players, I've never seen anything like it. You know, everyone understands their position on the board, what the prize is, you know, what play their opponents are running. And it's really interesting to watch. So I just think if Google changes its behavior, because it's going to be really painful for them as a higher cost producer to run that negative 30% margin. It might start to impact, you know, their stock. That has pretty profound implications for the economics of AI. And then when Rubin comes out, we'll know the gap is going to expand significantly.
Versus TPUs?
Versus TPUs and all other ASICs. Now, I think Trainium 3 is probably going to be pretty good and Trainium 4 are going to be good.
Why is that the case? Why won't TPU V8, V9 be every bit as good?
A couple of things. So one, for whatever reason, Google made more conservative design decisions. I think part of that is, so Google, round numbers, Google, like let's say the TPU, Google is, so there's front end and back end of semiconductor design. And then there's, you know, dealing with Taiwan Semi. You can make an ASIC in a lot of ways. What Google does is they do mostly the front end for the TPU, and then Broadcom does the back end and manages Taiwan Semi and everything. It's a crude analogy, but like the front end is like the architect of a house.
Yep.
They design the house. The back end is the person who builds the house. Yep. And then managing Taiwan Semi is like stamping out that house like Lennar or, you know, D.R. Horton. And for doing those two latter parts, Broadcom earns a 50 to 55% gross margin. We don't know what on TPUs, okay? Let's say in 2027, TPU, I think it's its estimates, maybe somewhere around 30 billion. Again, who knows? I mean,
they don't really say, yeah.
Yeah. But 30 billion, I think, is a reasonable estimate. 50 to 55% gross margins. So Google is paying Broadcom $15 billion. Okay, that's a lot of money. And at a certain point, it makes sense to bring a semiconductor program entirely in-house. So in other words, Apple does not have an ASIC partner for their chips. They do the front end themselves, the back end, and they manage Taiwan Semi.
Yep.
And the reason is they don't want to pay that 50% margin.